What's up, guys? This video will not be a deck tech. There will be no games being played. It's just going to be discussion of the priest cards, how to evaluate some of them, why they're good or uh, why they're bad. Uh, um, and yeah, like why people play them or not, and then we'll discuss them. We'll go piece by piece. We're just going to go straight through all the priest cards. Okay, everything, all of them. Okay, so Circle of Healing. It's a good card in combination with the Injured Blade Master because of the obvious, being able to get a turn 2 or turn 3 4/7. And it's also good with Akanai Soul Priest. And I wouldn't run Circle of Healing unless I had the full combination of Northshire Cleric, Akanai Soul Priest, and Injured Blade Master. Because that way you add some consistency to the deck. I personally think it's a great card, and that package just seems to be, to me, it just seems like it must be run. Silence is, it's hard to evaluate Silence because it does nothing, okay? Well, it does something, but it's always card disadvantage. Silencing a minion doesn't kill a minion. So, like, let's say you play a Harvest Golem, or someone has a Harvest Golem, you silence a Harvest Golem, then you kill the Harvest Golem. You still had to spend one card to kill the Harvest Golem, and if you traded creatures, then you just got 2 for 1. I do believe that you can find room for this if you play an Ancient Watcher package. Like, if you played Ancient Watcher, Sunfury Protector, Defender of Argus, and Silence, I think you have good repetition there. And I think that's the only time that I would play an Ancient Watcher package. I personally don't think the Ancient Watcher package is good in Priest because Ancient Watcher does not attack. And unless you give it the ability to help command board control, it's not worth it, even if it's just a 4/5 blocker. So that's what I think about Silence and Ancient Watcher. Inner Fire, obviously you talk about Inner Fire when we talk about cards like Divine Spirit, and I think it's poor. Okay, maybe in the high ranks, or maybe there's gonna even at rank 5 or whatever, you might be able to steal a win by doing double Divine Spirit, Inner Fire on a creature and attacking. But I think those chances are going to be few and far between. And the problem with this card is that if you don't get the kill, chances are you're going to 2 or 3 for 1 yourself. Like if you do double Divine Spirit on something and attack into a taunt and you kill the taunt, and then the next turn they silence you, then you've lost 3 or 4 cards for 1 effect, So that's what I think about Inner Fire. Lightwell, I actually think Lightwell's very underrated. This card is very good in the beginning of the game, and this is very bad as a top deck. Okay, let's just talk about this card really quickly. There is nothing that costs 2 or 3 mana that can kill this card. Nothing. And that's why it's such a strong tempo play early in the game. A lot of people say shit about this card like being a poor card, and really it doesn't. It's hard to say that it doesn't do anything because it's not attacking, but I mean this offsets damage. It is a mana sink. I wouldn't play 2. I think 1 is pretty good if you do play any at all. I think it's very underrated, but it sucks late. Like if you top deck this and they've already got board presence, then this is just a dead card, right? So this is only a card you want to put when you're trying to get board control or when you already have it. And it's obviously clearly better in the beginning than it is late. Shadow Form, I don't have this card, so I can't really tell you what I think of the card. All I know is that Priest Healing is pretty important. And spending 3 mana to like do nothing is kind of sucky, okay? Like, I mean, this basically just changes you to dealing damage, right? Something that Akanai Soul Priest already does better. So that's why I don't like this card. Thought Steal is a great card. Way better against mid-range and control decks than it is against aggro. This is a card you do not want to see against aggro. If you really think that every deck that you play against on ranked is aggressive, then you shouldn't play Thought Steal. Okay, Thought Steal does good against control and mid-range decks because it tells you what kind of deck, like what kind of cards they're playing, what cards they haven't drawn yet, and against control decks, like there's a good chance that you might get a big win. I played 1 Thought Steal on my list. I would love to play 2 if I didn't have to worry about such an aggressive meta. And if you've watched any of my videos, you've seen Thought Steal pay off dividends when it got me a Tyrion or whatnot. Mass Dispel, I guess this card doesn't see a lot of play anymore. Silence all enemy minions, draw a card. It's kind of hard to say. This is a meta-dependent card. I'd say don't play it, right? Mind Games, this could be pretty crazy, especially against control decks that play very few creatures or play only big drops. But it's pretty RNG based. And because of that, I would stay away from it, especially at the 4-drop spot. Shadow Madness, I think this is a great card as a one-of. You can use this to really 2-for-1 your opponent. Take their Harvest Golem, attack it into something, kill both creatures, keep the Golem. Works very similar to Cabal Shadow Priest, it's just slightly better. I like it as a one-of, even though I do not play it right now. Soul Priest, obviously, if you play this, you should play Circle of Healing. A very powerful card because of the 5 toughness. The 3 health, 3 damage leaves something more, but to be asked for. But my cat just went crazy. But what he does to your hero power it is a big thing. It is a big card to have. Especially dropping this on turn 6 and then using hero power. It can be a good, strong tempo play. Problem is against really aggressive decks that don't care, like Aggro Warrior or Aggro Hunter. This card is actually pretty poor because you always want to be using your hero power in that matchup to offset the damage you take. And if you drop this card, then they can just totally ignore it and just go for the face. And that puts you in a really tough situation. Lightspawn, I don't like this card. 4 for a 5/5 sounds great, but with spells that deal like whatever 1 or 2 damage, people can really like offset this and make him a lot smaller than he really is. It seems like a great card, but I personally don't like Lightspawn. Holy Fire, depending on your build, this might be necessary. 6 for a 10-point life swing is pretty efficient, if you ask me. The one problem about this card is that it kind of like fills up your late game hand, like, you know what I mean? Because there's other 6 drops you want to drop, and it often will clutter your hand with late game drops. Cabal Shadow Priest, I think this is one of the best cards in the Priest set, if not the best. Use it to take a Nat Pago, use it to take a Feral Wolves Taunt, use it to take a Manatide Totem, use it to take a Harvest Golem, use it to take a Argent Squire, use it to take whatever. This is a pretty awesome card. So I used to play 2, but I'm only playing 1 just for whatever. Tempo Enforcer is pretty good. 6 for 6/6 is not bad. The additional +3 health can be helpful. I do not value it as much as the other 6 drops. Prophet Velen seems pretty cool. I think this card is very weak though. 7 power means it's susceptible to Shadow or Death, Big Game Hunter, and a lot of the common removals for legendaries. And that's why I think if you're going to play like a card that commands so much mana, you want to make sure that it at least gives you a card or has an immediate impact on the board. So cards like Ysera seem good. Prophet Velen is just not made to that same fold, because at 7 mana, like realistically, he's a 8 or 9 drop, and even then, you have to play specific cards to totally get any kind of value out of them. So I think it's pretty weak. We'll talk a little bit about common neutrals that are used. Like I said, Ancient Watcher. I really don't like the Ancient Watcher package unless you have some Fury Protector, Defender of Argus, and some sort of silence. So that could either be the Owl or Spellbreaker or the card Silence. Okay. Obviously, I feel like Spellbreaker and Owl are much better. But yeah, Crazed Alchemist I think is actually pretty good. Was much better when Pago was out. Pago's not out there anymore, but Crazed Alchemist does a couple things. Switches power and toughness so that some 4 or 5 creatures like Chillwind Yeti or Ysera that were no longer targetable by Shadow Word Death become targetable. So, you know, think about playing that card. Ironbeak Owl touched on it a bit. Doomsayer, I've never played with this card, but I feel in theory it's pretty darn good. I've never had the chance to use it though, so. Pago, I'm on the fence about Pago right now. Some Fury Protector, pretty decent. Wild Pyromancer, if you run Smite, Power Word, Shields. Oh, we didn't touch upon those spells. Yeah, Pyromancer I think is pretty good in Priest. Earth and Rain Farseer I think is pretty good. Injured Blade Master is very good in Priest. 4/7 on turn 3 or turn 2 is very, very awesome. Let's go touch about the basic cards. So we missed those, and we'll just call that the end of the video here. So, Holy Smite. People, one for 2 damage is pretty good, especially good if you play. What is that called? Wild Pyromancer. So I actually kind of like Holy Smite. In an aggro-heavy environment, it's good. Mind Vision can be good against control decks. I personally don't run it. Power Word Shield is a very good card. This is pretty much an auto 2 of in every Priest deck, I believe, because it always replaces itself. It's a fuel for Wild Pyro. Northshire Cleric. This is arguable. Like, you don't have to play 2 if you have other sources of draw, but if you don't have other sources of draw, Northshire Cleric is going to be your biggest source. Okay. Divine Spirit, like I said, I don't believe in this card. I think this is a wasted card. Yeah. Mind Blast, I guess this could see use in some shadow builds. I personally don't care about the damage. I care about controlling the board and then winning. And Mind Blast does not help that. Shadow Word Pain, let's touch up on this one a little bit. The problem with Shadow Word Pain is that it's not mana efficient. Okay, destroys a minion with 3 or less attack. I don't know. Like, I don't know. You know, it kills what? Kills all the 1-drops. Kills most of the 2-drops, but I don't know. It's. I guess you could play it. It's just there are better things to do than to commit cards that go for 1 for 1. And it's just too situational. Shadow Word Death, on the other hand, is a necessity, almost, because there are many 5 damage creatures and up to take care of. Giants, Ancient of Lore, Ragnaros, many things, many targets, so I like 2 of these. Yeah, what have we not touched on? Holy Nova, I think this is almost necessity. 2 damage to all enemies, restore 2 health. Works great in conjunction with Northshire Cleric. And Mind Control. I can see definitely 1 in decks. I can see 0 in decks, but I can definitely not see 2. 2 might be too much. 1 is probably perfect. 0 is probably good in an aggro environment. So that's basically my analysis of the priest class. So take from it what you will, and yeah, enjoy playing.